There is a section of people out there, of fandom out there, that when it comes to Dragon Ball Super and Boruto Naruto Next Generation, they have the mindset that neither one of them should exist. They shouldn't exist as continuations to these mega hits that are beloved by millions of people around the world. They should have stopped with, Dragon Ball should have stopped all the way back in Dragon Ball or Z, whatever you want to call it, because obviously manga is Dragon Ball, the anime goes to the Z portion. And with Boruto, that it should have never left chapter 700. Like, sure, the little Naruto Gaiden stuff was fine, but in terms of this whole Boruto thing, shouldn't have ever happened. In fact, there was somebody over on Twitter, one of you guys, which shout out to you guys. I always appreciate whenever you guys spark a conversation for me that I'm like, yo, I kind of got something to say about this. He kind of chimed in recently and really made me think again about, like, wow, a lot of people be feeling this way. Hidden_Clover said, this new generation is doing my boy Goku and Naruto so dirty. I hate it here. And a lot of people do feel that way. In fact, there are times where I feel like some shit happens in the anime or the manga of either one of these series and I'm like, god damn, why they gotta do our boy dirty? Why they gotta do Uzumaki dirty? Why Goku gotta take the L? What is going on here? Yeah, people, let's talk about it.
No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
Now let's start off with focusing on Dragon Ball Super. One of the things is that a lot of the idea behind it, I feel, is that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, if you just look at the way things have been set up even up until this point, especially with the last couple of arcs, is like people love Goku, people love Vegeta, people love power-ups, people love big fights with aliens. Let's stick to what works. Ever since the revival of Dragon Ball with, the Battle of Gods film back in 2013 and so on and so forth, it's kind of played it safe. It didn't do what they attempted to do back in 96 with Dragon Ball GT. They were like, no, we're not going to add any new cast of characters. We're going to stick straight to Goku and Vegeta. And as I recently said in my latest Dragon Ball video, it kind of is a gift and a curse. Like, yeah, we love seeing Goku and Vegeta, but it also is at the detriment of Goku and Vegeta because those are the only two punching bags. Like, one of the things I used to talk about, like, for example, with Justice League, when they had the animated Justice League series back in the day, they always used to pick on Superman and make him get hurt in the beginning to show, like, there's danger. If Superman can get hurt, who's going to stop this danger? And that's the same idea that they use a lot of the time, pretty much most of the time, in a lot of these arcs in Dragon Ball Super. If Goku could get hurt, who can stop him? Oh my god, Vegeta got hurt. This guy might be a threat. And since there's no third party really to use as far as like an ally that is on the same level as Goku and Vegeta, there's really nowhere to go in terms of like a new threat shows up. Oh my god, there's trouble. Because if somebody shows up and like kills Krillin or kills Gohan, people are gonna be like, well, first of all, there's Dragon Balls to bring them back, so who cares? And second of all, it's Gohan and Krillin. Like, yo, there's old ladies out there that could take them out. No. There's no hope in terms of the other characters. I would argue that the Tournament of Power did a great job in utilizing all of them. Sometimes it felt a little unrealistic because, again, Goku and Vegeta aren't just another stratosphere of power, like where you got Roshi fighting people that he just has no business fighting. It was like, okay then. But at the very least, I'll give the Tournament of Power credit that it utilized a wide variety of characters that we have in Dragon Ball in a good way. It was like, yo, Majin Buu is fighting, and that was probably why the Tournament of Power was so beloved around the world, despite some criticism that it had, because it was just so cool to see all of the characters we love throughout Dragon Ball being used. And then you cut from that to the last couple of arcs, Moro and now Granola, and it's just, hey, Goku and Vegeta, and occasionally you'll see a character here or there. I mean, I guess in Moro they try to do a little bit more with using some of the characters, but again, it always falls back to the Goku and Vegeta show. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But what if that idea is flawed if it's to a certain degree broke? Maybe not in terms of sales, maybe not in terms of popularity, because Dragon Ball is still loved around the world, but in terms of like critically, quality-wise, there might be some cracks in the armor. But we'll get back to Dragon Ball in a second. Let's talk a little bit of Boruto. While Dragon Ball decided to play it safe, we're gonna stick with Goku, Vegeta, the cast of characters that you guys know and love. Boruto said, screw all that shit. It went even further than what GT did, because at least with GT, Goku was still a main character. It was Goku, Pan, and Trunks. They were like, no, we're not gonna do no new character, nothing like that. They were like, no, we're not gonna really, have any of the old cast be prominent. We're gonna go with all new. This is Naruto's son, Sasuke's daughter, Orochimaru's kid. Like, we're gonna just do a whole different thing. And from time to time, you might see the characters of, that you loved from the past, basically alienating away that original Naruto fandom. So right there, that kind of crippled the chances of Boruto immediately exploding. Like, if they would have went the GT route, and let's just say, like, things have changed in the Leaf, and now, like, the teams aren't the same anymore. Maybe Naruto is already Hokage, but he's still going on missions, or this is after Naruto served his time as Hokage, and, like, he still wants to do missions and things like that, and it's a 3-man team. Again, use using some of the blueprint of GT, but just doing it better than what GT did, because GT tried to downscale and power it down, which is something that neither Dragon Ball nor Boruto do. Dragon Ball Boruto realized that taking the stakes even lower than what it was and making the threats lower than what it was and powering down the characters, it's just not gonna fly. People don't want to see that shit. They want to see the next level, the advanced form. And with a series like Boruto, well, how do you do that? Like, how do you make the new main characters, Boruto, Sarada, Mitsuki, that are going to be way weaker than their godlike shinobi parents? Like, how do you make them actually be credible in a battle against some of these threats that are coming along, if these threats are going to be even stronger than the last threats that Naruto and Sasuke fought, but these kids are going to be 10 times, 100,000 times weaker than their parents were at their prime? So right there in and of itself was a flaw, where basically, even though they wanted to disregard the parents of Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, etc., they have to use them, and they've had to use them up until the point because there was no other option. So even though they wanted to disregard almost the old fandom, they couldn't. How do you make the next level be higher if the main characters that you're using right now aren't all that strong? And here's one thing that Boruto and Dragon Ball have had in common that kind of is something that really messes with the dynamics of both of them, and that's stakes. With Dragon Ball, it's always been the case that, well, what stakes do we really have with the Dragon Balls being around? It's magnified times that for the fact that Dragon Ball Super actually takes place before the end of Dragon Ball Z, so you know everything's gonna fall back into place. You know Goku's not gonna die, nobody's going to die. In fact, they actually make it so that you know 100%, yeah, it's not gonna happen. So already the stakes in terms of Dragon Ball Super are kind of like if they were to go past the Z portion, then it'd be a different ball game, even though still you got the Dragon Balls. But you add all of that together, and it's kind of like in the end they're gonna fall back into place into the story of how Z ended. And then on the Boruto side of things, I feel like they've from the very jump flirted with it, but they've only flirted with it. They've like kind of pulled up their skirt for a second, showed a little leg, and then pulled the skirt back down and put on a lock and chain on their leg. Because I mean, in the very beginning, they basically hint like Naruto's dead, possibly even Sasuke is dead at this point. But then when they actually even do make attempts at having a big, major, impactful death go down, like as of recent, I ain't gonna lie, it is to a certain degree some of the fans' fault why they don't like to take that approach, because with something that recently happened, a major death in the Boruto verse, I won't spoil who it was or exactly what happened, a lot of fans freaked out and didn't like it. They said, oh my god, how do you do our boy so dirty? Well, didn't you want stakes? And then now that the stakes actually came to a realization of shit is wild, shit is dire, now you mad? But I get it. Sometimes people just, you know, they can't accept change. They want change, and then sometimes they don't even know what the hell they want. And then it kind of leads me to this question as well, right? Because like, you know, they start pounding on Goku. Like every arc, Goku and Vegeta are getting their asses kicked. And the latest arcs in Boruto, Naruto and Sasuke are constantly getting their asses kicked, which is already like, well, again, you got to show how credible the threat is. So how do you do that? By pounding on the characters that we have in the previous gen, which at this point, because they're so much considered as vets, it almost feels like disrespect, opposed to if you see Deku, if you see Asta, if you see any of these new age characters getting their ass kicked, it's like, well, it's part of the journey. Yeah, they need to get their asses kicked. Naruto, you feel like, yo, he's a legend. How is he getting his face stomped in? Likewise with Goku, it's like, what are you doing? But again, these are battle shonen. They got to get their asses kicked, even if it comes across as disrespectful, because that's how you show that, yeah, this threat is real. And that all leads me to wonder, well, if it is a problem the way Dragon Ball has taken the approach, right, of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, Goku, Vegeta show, yada yada, and if it's a problem on the Boruto side of things, like, let's disregard to a certain degree all of this shit that you love, we're gonna use the franchise's name, the universe, we'll show you some of the characters some of the time, but for the most part we're focusing in, or we're supposed to be focusing in on these new characters, and that doesn't work. Why does a series, for example, like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, why does that work so well? Why does a fandom accept and love, and why is it so great? Why is it so highly regarded when they do another part that, you know, JoJo starts off with part 1 is Jonathan, and part 2 is Joseph, and they're all connected, and there's relatives and things like that. Why does that work so well, but it doesn't work with Dragon Ball and Boruto? I'm gonna throw in there and say a part of it is the planning. I feel like there was definitely a lot of rushing, and this is more so on the production side of things. Like Dragon Ball, it seemed like Battle of Gods popped off, they were like, holy cow, people still love this shit. Resurrection F popped off, and they were like, send it out the door. Send it out the door right now. I mean, just think back a little bit to the inception of the Dragon Ball Super anime and the initial return. That kind of bamboozled a lot of us, because we're like, yo, new anime, and then you realize when you get the anime, oh, the first 2 arcs are remakes of the 2 films we just seen in theaters and just spent our money on. So the first 24 to 26 episodes of Dragon Ball Super was all shit that we already seen, stretched out into into TV anime form. Which, don't get me wrong, I'd argue the Battle of Gods stuff that was done in the TV anime minus some animation errors was actually pretty interesting and dope, but nevertheless, it was kind of like, yo, y'all rushed this shit. Y'all rushed it, and then it was to a point where, okay, so the anime was originally behind the manga, then it surpassed the manga, and you were getting stuff happening first in the anime. It was just honestly a big rush job, in my opinion. They saw the iron was hot, and they were like, we've got to strike, mate! With Boruto, I feel like there was a little bit, not necessarily of a rush job, but more so the planning wasn't all the way correct, and also not having the original creator involved was a big issue. Like, I mean, they've always said that, you know, Kishimoto has to approve shit, but how much, realistically, if you know anything about how much work a mangaka has and how much it goes into making a Shonen Jump title, let's go back a few years. Remember the fact that Masashi Kishimoto in 2019, a few years after Boruto, was serializing a whole other series that he was working in pre-production for quite some time as well, years into the making. So you think he has enough time to work on Samurai 8 and Boruto, or have a significant contribution to Boruto while he's working on a whole other franchise? You honestly don't know how hard it is to create a manga if you think that he was able to really put significant value into Boruto while he's doing something totally different with Samurai 8. So you lose the big word of the original creator with Boruto. Dragon Ball Super, Toriyama, supposedly, you know, he's been involved every step of the way, but you go to Boruto, you don't got Kishimoto. Then on top of the fact that initially, from what they said, the people that were behind it initially, Ukyo Kodachi and Ikamoto, that originally Boruto was supposed to be a reboot. Boruto was actually pitched as like, yo, why don't we just reboot like a retelling of Naruto, and then it turned into Boruto. It actually wasn't even supposed to be this continuation at first. That wasn't the idea. So you have all of that. It probably was poor planning, not a rush job, but just the planning wasn't the best. And then you also look at, wait a minute, so you did the same thing you did with Dragon Ball with the Boruto story, because the manga is, you know, the first 9 months of it, the first 9 chapters was a remake of the movie, and then the anime redid the movie arc. Like, both of them, they had poor planning, and they didn't have the original soul of it all, because Toriyama still, like, you know, he hands a paper with some ideas and says, where's my $10 million? And then Kishimoto's like, yo, my guys that was rocking with me, y'all handle it. He left it to the fellas. While JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was very well planned out, obviously with some exceptions like Dio in the coffin. Yeah, I know. But you had Hirohiko Araki every step of the way, working diligently day and night, serializing his manga. And then, of course, it went into an anime adaptation years later and things like that. But Araki, the original creator, was involved all the way through. I honestly think that if either of these series came back and it was just straight up a serialized version and it was a continuation, like even if it was Boruto, for example, Boruto, the idea in it of itself, I think if Kishimoto was involved every step of the way from jump, like if it took place, let's just say he took a 3-month break and then went from Naruto to Boruto, I think things would have been different. Likewise with Dragon Ball Super. I mean, granted, Dragon Ball Super came way after Toriyama said, haha, gonna be a blue day in hell if you think you're gonna catch me drawing manga and killing myself over that shit. But I think that that's a big part of it. Like, you know, it's in every medium for that matter you go to, they always say, oh, the books were better. Why are the books better than the adaptations or anything like that? Because you got the soul and the idea and the whole structure from the original creator. You take the original soul out of it, the original creator, you're left with sometimes something that you might not be the happiest with. I mean, don't get me wrong, I really love Boruto. I love a lot of the stuff that Ukyo Kodachi had done. It was off to a rough start at first, but after a while, after the first couple of arcs, like the remake of the movie and then a little bit after that, I loved it. I loved a lot of what was done with Kara, but I can definitely admit that if Kishimoto was involved, things might have been different from the jump. I know they said that he came back, but I don't know. And then Dragon Ball Super, I don't know, Toriyama, he told them at the very last moment, at the end of like the Buu saga, like, oh, yo, yeah, I'm done, by the way. I'm just letting you guys know. Like, they're like, what? So there's that with all of that. But I'm very curious, why do you guys think it feels like Goku, Naruto, and Dragon Ball and Boruto as a whole get done so dirty? And just to a lot of people's eyes feel like they aren't as good as their predecessors, as their previous stories? Is it because, like, do you think it's the concepts? Because again, they both do the exact opposite. Like, while one tries to stick to what ain't broke, the other one sticks to a brand new formula with keeping some of the things that you love, and both of them seem to get a lot of hate. Do you think it's also potentially a little bit of nostalgia? Maybe people are remembering these stories to be great, because I remember reviewing Naruto, I remember talking about the 4th Great Shinobi War, and while there was some issues that I had personally, it was every week a shit show of battles of people saying they hated it. Naruto died after this point, died after that point, it got worse, and blah blah blah. So it's not like Naruto was this 10 out of 10 love series every week. In fact, people used to shit on it the same way people do My Hero Academia right now. The My Hero Academia haters, Naruto had it too. And then Dragon Ball, I'd imagine the same thing. Like, to this day, I hear people go back now and talk a lot of shit about Z and this, that, and the third. So I think also nostalgia blinds a little bit. It makes you think and look back on Z and Naruto as like perfect when they had their flaws too. And just your overall thoughts and take on all this. What can be done to fix the idea that Goku constantly has to get done dirty in order to advance the plot and the threat, and vice versa with Naruto taking L after L, him and Sasuke? Like, what can be done to fix this situation? And your overall thoughts of this topic. But that's all I have for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links are in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.
And remember the golden rule.
Anime and manga
One life, boy.
have an awesome day. Peace in, and regardless of what, shout outs to my boy Son Goku and Uzumaki Naruto. They still them dudes, alright? Have an awesome day.